This afternoon, as the India-China border situation remains tense, the focus is now in Moscow, where the foreign ministers of the SCO, that is the Shanghai Cooperation Organisation, are gathering to meet for now. India's Foreign Minister Jaishankar will be attending the SCO ministerial meeting, and he will also hold bilateral meetings starting with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov. Both sides will focus on aspects of bilateral and regional concerns. But when it comes to the issue of India-China border tensions, Moscow has adopted an approach of non-interference in bilateral issues between the two countries. A lot now hinges on how things go in Moscow. The Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is also present at the SCO meet. Jaishankar and Wang Yi will be face-to-face 3 times today and participate in common engagements as well. There will also be a meeting between both the nations on the sidelines, however. On the other hand, Pakistan is being represented by Foreign Minister S.M. Qureshi. And before leaving for Moscow, Jaishankar made it pretty clear that India will continue its zero diplomacy policy with Pakistan until it shuns terror. Therefore, no meeting can be expected with Pakistan on the sidelines of the SCO meet. Now, for more details on the upcoming SCO meet, we are being joined live by Brahma Chelani, a Professor of Strategic Studies at the Center for Policy Research. Professor Chelani, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Now, the Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar will be holding bilateral meetings with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov. So what can we expect from this meet?
This is a very important meeting between the foreign ministers of India and China, given the dangerous situation prevailing in eastern Ladakh. And given China's ongoing aggression in terms of its continuing encroachments in several areas. So the outcome of this meeting is going to be important in knowing where the situation might go in the coming days and weeks. If no breakthrough is achieved, the tensions might increase along the eastern frontiers, eastern Ladakh's frontiers.
Right. Now, Professor, you have very closely been following the recent escalation in eastern Ladakh between India and China. And now a very crucial SCO meet where the foreign ministers of the two countries are scheduled to meet, though only on the sidelines. So what can we expect since high-level talks have failed to yield any results so far between the two countries?
Well, it's a good question. We had the defense ministers of China and India meeting in Moscow last week, and now the foreign ministers of the two countries are meeting in Moscow. Also interesting is the fact that Moscow is playing an important role in the background, facilitating this dialogue between India and China. In fact, today, the Russian foreign minister is hosting a lunch for the Indian and Chinese foreign ministers. So in a way, Moscow is playing the role of a mediator or a facilitator in ongoing efforts to diffuse the crisis on the Ladakh frontiers.
Right.
In terms of what we can expect from this meeting, I think that the two countries have to look at ways of de-escalating the current situation and disengaging their forces. They have a border management framework which has been in place since the early 1990s. And many of the Chinese actions in recent weeks have been a clear violation of those agreements, including the 1993 agreement, the 1996 agreement, and the agreements that followed after that. Even the recent example of the Chinese side now engaging in ongoing firing exercises near the borders with India is a clear violation of these agreements. The agreements specify that neither country is going to engage in any firing practice or incident within 2 kilometers of the LAC.
Right.
So a lot of these Chinese actions, including the massing of large numbers of forces, are an open breach of the border management framework. And in the discussions, Jaishankar is likely to insist that the Chinese observe the border management agreements and that they redeploy forces so as to help ease tensions. Because the Indian deployments are in reaction to the Chinese deployments. The Indians did not deploy forces in large numbers
right, absolutely.
On their own. They did so in response to the Chinese heavy deployments.
Right. Now, just a final question. In previous discussions, you have mentioned that China seeks to mislead global audiences, and now the Chinese mouthpiece Global Times is peddling even more lies and warning that China will not hesitate to destroy the Indian army if it fires the first shots. So what can we expect between the two nations going forward?
The Chinese propaganda war against India is a continuing exercise, and the Global Times is playing an important role in that propaganda war. The Chinese military, for its part, is now engaged in psychological warfare against the Indian forces by engaging in not just the firing exercises near the borders with India, but also by engaging in provocative maneuvers opposite Indian deployments. Right. The whole effort is to gain psychological advantage over Indian forces, to overawe the Indian forces, to create a situation in which India will have no choice either to pull back forces or accept the new status quo that China has created in several areas, including Depsang, in Galwan Valley, in Hot Springs, in Gogra, and on the northern side of Pangong Lake. In all these areas, the Chinese encroachments remain, and the whole Chinese effort now is to gain psychological dominance in order to present India with a fait accompli.
Right.
In fact, this intimidation that is happening is an effort to get India to accept the new status quo.
All right, Professor Chilani, thank you so much for all your inputs on this story, and thank you for joining us this afternoon.